Okay, so this is the Mark-10 mechanical tester. First thing that you want to do when you're using the Mark-10 is figure out what kind of force you're going to expect. So I'd like to tear apart this piece of paper. I think it's going to be probably around 1 kilonewton. If I was doing this properly, I would find out what the maximum tensile strength of this is, and then choose a load cell that is within that range. Normally I like to go 50% over is the minimum for the load cell. So if you have a 1 kilonewton sample, then you can use the 1500. If you have like a 300 newton sample, then you can use the 500 load cell. I'm going to expect around 1 kilonewton. I don't think it's going to get that high, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to choose which load cell. We have the 500 millinewton, the 25 newton, the 500 newton, and the 1.5 kilonewton. I'm going to take the load cell out of its box. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to screw it in to where it needs to be mounted. On everything on the Mark-10, make sure that you don't over tighten. Then I'm going to attach this cable and screw it in. And then I'm going to attach another cable. Then I'm going to go around to the back of the Mark-10 and turn it off and on again. This is so that it registers the load cell. So the next thing that we're going to do once we have the load cell attached is we're going to start putting on our grips. So for this, I've chosen the 5.3 kilonewton tensile grips. First thing that you're going to do is you are going to attach something to the top. Where the hell did that go? It's right here. I'm going to attach one of these to the top. Whenever you're assembling grips, you always want to make sure that you're working from the outside in. So I'm going to scroll this to the top to make room for the next part, which is this one. I'm going to put that through and then put a pin in it. And I'm going to scroll this all the way down, hand tighten, never over tighten. Then I'm going to put the top grip on. I'm going to make it go all the way, and then I'm going to reverse it around until the label is at the front. And then I'm going to scroll down to secure. Okay. Then I'm going to move this up so that I can put in the second grip. Once again, we're going to work from the bottom up. So you put in this thing first. Then you're going to scroll this down. Scroll the other one down. Then you're going to put the second piece on, put a pin through it, and scroll this one up again. Then you're going to put the grip on. Make it go all the way, and then you're going to reverse back until you have the label facing you, and then tighten up. now see that the two grips are in line. And you're done setting up the grips. Once again, make sure you do not over tighten any of these nuts or over screw things in. Then I'm going to lower the top grip until it's close enough to the bottom grip that I can fit my sample in. I'm going to do that by choosing the max speed and going down. Then when I'm done, I'll hit the round button to stop. Then I will turn these grips to fit my sample in. Slowly close them. It's okay if your sample isn't straight. But I'm going to close the door. I'm going to go up. Well, first I'm going to choose the speed that I want to run my tests at. So you do this by going to Menu, and then up speed, or if you're doing a compression test, down speed. Then you press Enter. Then you choose some value between roughly 5 and 25. These are all in millimeters per minute. I'm going to choose 15. Then I'm going to press Escape. Save changes, yes. And then I'm going to choose my set speed. It's important that before you start your test, you choose set speed, because otherwise the test will be conducted at the min or the max speed, which you definitely do not want. Then I'm going to use this set speed to raise up the top grip so that my sample is just barely in tension. Like so. And that's all you have to do for this side. Then, making sure that you're still on set speed, you can start using the software. So, the software has all of these different tabs. This is the acquisition tab, which is where you start and run your test. This is also where you zero out your force gauge. So I'm going to click zero gauge, clear gauge, zero travel. This is going to make sure that the force gauge starts at 0, force and 0 distance when I start my test. Then when I'm ready to start my test, I can press Start Up. Before I do that though, I'm going to make sure that my test is set up properly. So I'm going to go to Test Setup. I'm going to look at the time condition to start. Normally you want it to be 0 so that it starts when you press Start. Then I'm going to check the start direction. Because I'm doing a tension test, I want my start direction to be up. Then stop condition. You can choose any of these. If you choose, normally what you choose is time or travel if you just wanted to go until you tell it to stop. Or if you want it to stop by itself, you can choose load and then brake detect. This can be a little bit funky when you start and when you have low amounts of force. I'm just going to use travel because I'm going to stop it myself. The final thing to do is go to your other settings and either click invert travel or click invert load. The default for the Mark-10 is to go upwards and measure compression. So if you're going upwards and measuring tension, you need to invert your load. If you're going downwards and measuring compression, you need to invert your travel. Because I'm using a tension test, I need to invert my load, but not invert my travel. Once I'm done with my test, I will go to the Analysis tab. This is where you can export to Excel, and also where you can calculate things like the minimum and maximum and average and area under the curve. Useful statistics. So now that we've checked our test setup, and we've made sure that we're on set, and we've chosen a set speed, we are ready to just press start on our test. Oh, and we've zeroed all of these. We are ready to start our test. So as expected, we chose the correct load cell because this is over the tolerance of the 500 newtons. That's why it's always good to be safe. And if you look at your sample, it's pretty much destroyed. And that's how you use the Mark-10.